Oh, now we like Fallout. Fallout 4 comes out, general consensus is good, we like it, later reviews, and we hate it. It's soulless. New Vegas is real, Kino. They released Skyrim 10 times and we started to get the idea we were being fooled. Fallout 76 comes out. We steal the domain name of their premium service because we hate them so much. Now Starfield has been disassembled and called a complete failure by all the long critic guys. And now a TV show comes out that's so good Fallout 4's player count skyrockets and this guy gets wheeled out. Fine, I can dig it. Let's play it. What's the world without another YouTuber opinion? I can make you worse. No, that's my responsibility. Fallout is an RPG series set in a world that was devastated by nuclear weapons, forever freezing America in a 50s techno-fusion era. You play as a vault dweller, people that stayed underground during the explosions. A metaphor that we are not fucking heading towards. If I'm wrong and you have the time to call me out on that, then you weren't affected enough to be complaining about it. You play as one of two parents, an ex-military father and a law degree mother, and a son for whom your worst fear is that he will grow up to be communist. You get accepted into the vault, and the bombs drop at the same time. The twist is that every vault was actually a secret experiment, so the company behind Vault 111 decided to freeze you. Your cryosleep interrupted by a strange man that pops open your spouse's pod, caps them for not having player privilege, then steals your baby. You wake, leave the vault into a destroyed world, and I'm pretty sure you kill a living person before you speak to one. Back in the day, this character creator was pretty innovative, but now I've been spoiled. Yes, you can shape and stretch, but it's hard to make it look good. The best you can do is a clean-looking military guy or a wife hooked up on more drugs than, well, actually a perfectly normal amount of drugs for the time. You can't really make anything that isn't a 60s stereotype. Anything slightly longer always gets messy and greasy, meaning I couldn't give myself the perfect anime swoop. And unfortunately, you'll find out that I tried. For now, though, I went with a rugged-looking guy, a sort of messy, solid snake fellow named Thomas, and to its credit, one whole character can say his name.
Hey, Codsworth.
Mr. Thomas, the missus, and young Sir, these things you...
Dumb robot.
It's been ages. Not this time.
He has a whole list of names he'll read out, and it's a sign that someone actually cared. Yes, it's a gimmick to sell the PS4, but it's kinda nice to see. Each character is broken up by their special, an acronym that stands for Strength, Perception, Endurance, Charisma, Intelligence, Agility, and Luck. Strength is up front, it affects your melee damage and your carrying capacity. Perception is your aim, letting you be more effective in VATS, the Vault-Assisted Targeting System. Endurance is your health. Charisma affects your ability to persuade people, your price at vendors, and the power of your companions. Intelligence allows you to craft and gives you higher experience gains. Agility makes you stealthier and gives you more action points. Then finally, luck, which is the only one that works on your equivalent in real life. Luck gives you a bunch of benefits. More loot, more bottle caps, a random man with a gun to fix your problems. I realize I drift towards what I call a cowboy build, a character that specializes in one-handed pistols and is charming enough to get happy endings out of the side quests. They never date anyone either, because that's just another person who can hurt them. I even did this in Starfield, so I went with an extra class just on top of everything. A strength character who uses a knife and is extraordinarily lucky. For my other newest character, I specialized in agility. While it does lead to a cowboy-esque build, I wanted to make a pure stealth character. To counterbalance it, I removed points in perception to keep things from being too bebop, and made my endurance 1 to make sure that I used the stealth. Every time you level up, you get a point. This can be used to either add a point to existing special traits, or, more likely, be used to purchase one of the perks. Each stat is on a sliding scale of 1 to 10, and has 10 perks in it. The more points you have, the more perks in that tree you can purchase. For example, with 1 point in luck, you can buy a perk that makes more currency lying around. But if you max it out at 10 luck, you can get a perk that makes bullets ricochet off you and instantly kill someone. This ties into Fallout's combat, and out of all of the Bethesda properties, Fallout's probably has my least favorite. While the various guns you receive are neat, they lack a lot of style. It's why I praised Starfield for giving you the various Starborn powers. Even if the enemies are just health bars, you have a lot of ways of dispatching them, a ton of tools to experiment with. Would you rather shoot a guy or shout so hard he reverts to a fetus? Fallout has VATS, which carries a lot of the combat. As the acronym implies, it's a targeting system that lets you focus enemy limbs to weaken them, as long as you ignore that a majority of the rad monsters don't have enough health for the system to matter. Yes, you could shoot this raider's legs, but do you know what would really ruin his aim? Not to mention that it all works off a percentage. In close quarters, you can pull an XCOM on the guy that's about to kiss you with his 20 points of radiation damage. The system works best against boss enemies that have enough HP, or with certain weapons that shatter limbs more effectively, or if you just want to make up for your wee little thumbstick fingers. That said, I basically used it the whole game. It frames the combat in a much cooler way. VATS works off of AP, or action points. Each shot is another point. It is also expended when you sprint. After landing a certain amount of shots in VATS, you slowly charge up a critical hit that will heavily damage the limb you're aiming at, incentivizing you to use the system a bunch to bank that critical shot for a rainy day. The critical also never misses, so you can find a limb with a super low chance of hitting and use this move to snipe it. Stealth requires a perk upgrade to be used effectively, the sneak perk specifically. The game is pretty lenient with what it will let you do. Your character can wield any kind of gun. You can even use stealth with 1 point in agility. You just lose out on every valuable damage modifier that makes it worth doing in the first place. With this perk, when you find someone unaware, a ranged strike will do several times its own damage. Melee gets an even stronger bonus. After playing as Thomas, I'd say it's okay. It makes for a much more immersive experience when you have to use it. Getting caught would mean I had to hide again, or try to finish off the people who spotted me before I was killed. In terms of options, your defense is a bit lacking. You have a doctor behind you smashing steak into every bullet wound, so you have enough health so your limbs might actually get crippled, which can result in a lovely long-term debuff, requiring a healing syringe. I've been lucky to never be caught without a stim pack when it happens, but I can only imagine what it'd be like to try an adventure when the camera is doing a movie maker effect every few seconds. Realistically, your defense is good old cover. Though it's not a one-size-fits-all solution, the game actually has quite a long list of enemies. From the ranged factions, such as the Raiders, Gunners, or Super Mutants, to the mole rats that dig beneath your feet. While one enemy could take potshots at you, another will run up and try to bite you. Hell, the guns are all hit scans, so you're gonna take that damage whether you leave that cover now or later. So either you get forced out of cover by a charging enemy and take damage, or you leave it and get shot. I'm not calling the game difficult, I'm calling it weird. On the regular difficulty, Fallout is balanced fine. Offense is basically the best defense. If you want to survive a fight, you need to find the strongest enemies and hit them with the strongest move you have. Applying a critical shot to a heavy enemy, then fire into a turret before it can lock onto you. Using cover to recharge your AP so that you can jump back out and pick out the highest priority targets. The thing that makes the combat work is that you're doing it your way. Each of the 3 characters I built felt different from one another, whether it was crack shooting as my 2016 self, bulldozing enemies with O.J. Simpson, or being sneaky on Thomas. They felt unique to one another. The guns all have a weighty thwack to them, while enemies explode into visceral bits. I know it sounds like I'm phoning this in, and that's because I am. It's hard to describe a pleasure this simple without having you play it. Joseph Anderson famously broke Fallout down into a cycle of exploration, combat, and gathering. Though I would argue that combat and gathering are pretty incestuous. I tend to loot a guy shortly after blowing his head off, quickly running up and tapping the button so that I could start shooting at his friends next. Ammo management becomes a pretty large part of this game, unless you're okay with wielding a toilet pipe for a pistol, which I'm not. That's just my sensibilities though, because the wasteland is full of people using it. So the 38 caliber ammo is about as common as the radiation in the water. Eventually I just needed to ignore my builds midway through dungeons because you people really don't have any 10mm hanging around. You got a treasure vault down here. Every time I'm in Diamond City they know my order. A bowl of noodles and $500 of live ammunition. The robot knows better than to ask if I'm okay. There's also the second stage of that cycle. Or, well, maybe the first. Exploration. This is the game's biggest strength for me, specifically. It can be for you too if you have the heart for it. I really enjoy just looking through everything really slowly. In any game I play, honestly. Trying to imagine the life that was here before. Examining individual items. Basically, I have to do a lot of imagination work to get it going. Ladies, we have something in common. The game can almost always promise something around the corner. If you see a spot on the map and just head towards it, you'll find a thing. And I don't think we've ever really let that sink in. We say, oh, you see that mountain? You can podcast on it. But I really do mean, if you just look at some corner of the map and head there, there will be some kind of story here. I found the town of Salem and helped a hermit build a perfect turret setup. Then I found a massive irradiated hideout 2 blocks down. Oh, right. Radiation. Radiation is a mechanic that keeps you in check. Whenever you gain radiation, your maximum health is decreased. What I mean by keeps you in check is that anything you do that's kinda nasty gives you radiation. See this lake here? Since I was too lazy to find a bridge to cross, this is my punishment. You can heal from any water source or any moldy grub from a can if you can accept the radiation punishment. The two most common ways to get rid of radiation is with Radaway, a somewhat uncommon healing item, or by visiting a doctor and spending all your precious bottle caps, then missing out on noodles and company. Fallout's main quest splits into several directions in the open world, which is great because it's the weakest element of Fallout 4. I won't harp on this too long, but a lot of it comes down to the fact that you aren't given any real reason to care about what's happening. The player character feels like a writing abomination. They're a person with ostensibly a lot of history, but only 2 actual attachments to the world, one of which is rotting in a pod somewhere. The burnt out buildings are all places they should be familiar with, yet they treat everything with the same stare. Then again, his water wasn't clean either. This isn't even a conceptual issue. V from Cybercrunk was a hybrid of player insert and in-universe character. You have dialogue options for everything, but it's always split into 4, and always missing the rational ones. Like, I'd want to ask as many questions as I can, but instead you have 1 question, bad joke, agreement, or passive-aggressive agreement. But that comparison is missing the point. Fallout 4 isn't meant for role-playing. Yeah, I had a dead wife and ran around with a knife, but I couldn't be OJ. The moment I found real victims and unleashed my alleged anger against them, they simply kneeled down, then got up. The camera that triggers during conversations doesn't work as well as I'd like it to either. I appreciate what Bethesda is going for. The perspective swaps to third person for discussions, letting you see yourself and the other characters. However, without the control that a real cutscene gives you, it lets a bunch of lighting issues pop up, or characters get too close to each other, or a bunch of other things. And the character animation isn't so impressive that it really needs this kind of focus. Hell, there isn't a single character I really like. The closest is Nick Valentine, the robot detective. The rest fall right into the mediocre valley. There might have been more digging to do. If you jerk off to Piper's soulless eyes, I won't tell anyone. But I did bring them with me anyway. Fallout has a companion system where certain characters will follow you around. They carry loot and will shoot at enemies alongside you. You can have them target certain bad guys or loot crates from a distance. They'll accept your commands at any range, meaning if they're in cover, you can order them around. Companions also have likes and dislikes. If they like you, they'll give you their special quest. If they dislike you, they'll threaten to leave before you gaslight them into their proper place. Boston has become a very political melting pot, and a majority of the characters come from one of the factions. There's the Minutemen, a classic group of settlers that want to connect the world and protect one another from the natural dangers of the wasteland. Then there's the Institute, futuristic mole people that are making synthetic humans to replace everyone topside. The Brotherhood of Steel, who, if you make your enemy, will not hesitate to hit you with up, right, down, down, down. Then finally the Railroad, who basically have all the good ideals as long as you're cool with killing everyone around you. Which one gives you the good ending? Well, it's certainly not the ones you meet first, who specifically work to unite everyone. The story missions will build off of these 4 factions, sending you to various locations. You can visit the Railroad's underground bunker, the Minuteman encampments that you built, the floating battleship for the Brotherhood, you break into the Institute, and then you finally meet your kid again. And at least he's not communist. So yeah, the plot's not great. All you have to do to see that is to talk to one of your followers.
Your thoughts?
Sometimes you can still make out the person in there.
Your thoughts?
You know, winter looked even worse than I expected for a 200-year-old ghoul.
Your thoughts?
We'll make something out of the Commonwealth yet.
Your thoughts?
The detective's life is...
The protagonist should have been motivated by a desire to explore the world, IMHO. That said, I'm generally fond of the world building, and it's been quite funny to watch Fallout get a good show while the Halo fandom sits there in the cold steel chair in the dark corner of the room. Anyway, now that we're talking about how Hollywood sees video game stories, let's discuss looting. Looting comes down to 2 types of players. We'll call them survival and creative mode. Survival players are just looking for ammo in their gun, a stim pack, only the essentials. The creative mode guy is there for the Abraxo cleaner and the wrenches. Building those settlements isn't as free as you'd think it is. Survival mode is by far the smaller headache. You just need to recognize your particular ammo casing and grab that. The words stim pack, bottle cap, and Radaway, then you're good. Most of your real loot upgrades will come as quest rewards anyway. Creative mode is for building giant cityscapes. While this is basically a waste of time in Starfield, I actually kind of like the town crafting in Fallout. Many times you'll be running from place to organize materials, incentivizing you to actually build a home and get invested in it. And, okay, It's not impressive, really, but I'm gonna show it anyway. The thing that set me over the edge on making this video was this. No, I didn't become a city planner in a week. I did this in 2016. I built a bustling town 8 years ago with no mods, no free materials, just the stuff I had scavenged. I made Jackson from The Last of Us in this wasteland. It's got a central square with tons of vendors. I built a bar. I created a fortified rim of turrets and soldiers. There's a farm. I turned the bombed out wrecks of Sanctuary into full homes. Yes, I am showing off my virtual Lego collection. You were gonna watch something stupid anyway. Here's my rifle that I named after the fandom I was in. This is my house. It's got a stash of weapons in a locker, several cases with all of the items organized, a crafting table upstairs to modify my guns. I have a dining room, a computer that controls the lights outside. I must have cared about cats quite a lot. What was I up to when I was 18? I still talk to some of the people that I was on call with when I built this. Except that one girl who almost went to jail for stealing from a Bob's. Dozens of hours scavenging random dungeons, and the rat idiot that made this didn't even know it was going in a YouTube video. What the fuck? I made Columbia? There's a large stairway upwards with like 2 levels to it. How the fuck did I have time to make this? I had a job. I designed myself how I imagined I'd look at 30. Oh Christ, it's the lighting, okay? You should be honored I'm showing this to you. This is intimately personal. I want to see the Minecraft world you made when you were in senior year. If you didn't delete it because it reminds you of people who aren't in your life anymore, did you kick them all out, or could they just not stand you? I'm not calling you difficult, I'm calling you weird. Maybe you kicked them out because they kept telling you to play fucking New Vegas instead. But as I said that, as Fallout 4's player count jumped up, people went to war with the New Vegas people. Hey, slightly echoey and sick editing room Rowby here. I realized I never gave an actual take on Fallout New Vegas, and I would say that it's got the best writing of the series. It doesn't improve a lot else, but that extra writing does prop them up in a way that I don't think you get with Fallout 4. Alright, cool. Which has led me to believe that maybe we should just chill out or something. Let's be real, technically the group that loves Fallout 4 and the group that hates Fallout 4 both exist at the same time, and one just pops its head up when it's safe to do so. I hate Spider-Man 2 like an ungodly amount. I think it's an extremely inferior sequel to one of the PS4's best games. It breaks itself in half to share a plot with Miles, then doesn't do anything with him, while replacing all of the fun gadgets with dramatic over-animated attacks. And people agree with me, until It's Okay to Like Spider-Man 2 Day rolls around, and we start doing this. I've seen all the criticisms of these games, yet no matter the cries of the critics, the games are still generally pretty loved. Honestly though, I think it's better this way. Internet consumption has ruptured my fucking brain, and now if I like a thing, it's a political statement. And every single companion on the internet has an opinion on it. You though, you're not a content creator. You can be different. Basically, I'm making an argument for the status quo. Games are flawed under their skin, but you can still enjoy them as long as you know what they are. Bethesda games are fun, but it's also a fucking mess. I was looking forward to Starfield, and I forced myself to like it, even if I didn't really appreciate a lot about it. No, I didn't finish it. I didn't finish Fallout 4 either, mind you. I got to this Bunker Hill war, with multiple of those factions ready to kill one another. And like a good Hernandez, I opted to sit and watch. The Institute, Railroad, Brotherhood of Steel, they all popped up and began mercilessly tearing into one another, with the same fervent hate that brought the world to the state it is. With me sitting there with my hands in my pocket, looking at them like I was in a reenactment museum. But I also booted up this game, turned off the radio, and started looking through the wrecks of my old hometown, and the spell was instantly cast on me. Flipping open drawers to see what's inside, slowly picking the right stuff off of tables. Later, I got attacked by super mutants, only for a whole squad of Brotherhood of Steel members to descend from a vertibird, opening a chaotic battle, and I shit you not, it was one of the most amazing moments of emergent gameplay that I had ever experienced. Which only started to wane when I turned off the game, opened up the Google Doc, and remembered the Bunker Hill thing. Fallout is good and pretty mediocre at the same time. Its world is very absorbing, the combat could be better, then they come out with a banging TV show. Even Fallout 76 is supposed to be good now. To compound that, they gave a free next-gen upgrade for Fallout 4, and it broke several mods, ruined several screen effects, and added bugs. I'll see you in a month when we decide we like it again. Hey, thanks for watching. If you can't tell, allergies have ruined my voice a little bit. So with the sniffles vested in me, I'd like to thank the people on Patreon who made this video possible. I would especially like to thank Crow Thrower, Gremlin Broke My Video Game, Jonah Simpson, Ethan A., Anthony R. Chambers, Colorado Ranger, Sparkbolt 120, Mario Fan 997, Sturmfetter, My Reed, Pyrozine, and Rekren. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.